Thank you, David. After its facilities referendum failed in April of 2023, the Wautoma Area School District once again proposing a question to voters in the upcoming election. The $39.8 million referendum includes security upgrades, grade level and reconfigurations, and condensing school buildings. Samantha Cavalli breaks down the details of the proposal in this First Alert update.
For the past 18 months, Wautoma School District Administrator Jewel Mucklin and her colleagues have been working to construct a new question to pose to the Fighting Hornets community on the ballot. The nearly $40 million referendum would include district-wide renovations and other system improvements, including grade-level reconfiguration.
So Wautoma is very unique in the sense we have an elementary school that's 4K through 5th grade. We have an elementary school that's 4K through 3rd grade. We have a 4th grade through 8th grade school, and then we have a 9 through 12 school.
The district currently has 2 elementary schools, a middle school, and a high school. If the referendum passes, Riverview Elementary would close and Parkside would become an elementary school. The district would also build an addition onto Wautoma High School to house middle school students. By closing Riverview, Mucklin says the district could reallocate money to the remaining 3 schools for operational costs, as well as expand 4K learning into a full-day program. Portions of Riverview Elementary are older than some of the most recent additions made in the last few decades, and with the amount of issues the school has, it was decided this would be the building to close if the referendum passes. These photos show pipe erosion in bathrooms, roof damage, and more. Last week, Riverview Elementary canceled classes for a day to address what the district calls a pest issue, isolated to a part of the building children don't have access to. Mucklin says they called in pest control and the situation resolved within 24 hours. I asked if the referendum could help prevent situations like this in the future as buildings get older.
Sometimes in aging buildings, you certainly are going to possibly discover more things than you expected. I think just based on our findings and our conversations with pest control, that it was just coincidental in terms of timing.
After multiple community meetings and as Election Day approaches, Mucklin hopes Wautoma taxpayers will vote yes.
No, this is truly going to support and better our entire community. Not only our current population, but for all the generations that are going to be coming through our buildings.
In Wautoma, Samantha Cavalli, Action 2 News.